All right, guys, this story really pissed me off. It's very revealing of what's actually going on in the economy right now. Go ahead and put this tweet up on the screen. So Starbucks sends out this missive, we're forced to raise prices due to inflation and supply chain issues. Maybe, but also, by the way, their profit last quarter went up 31%. They just gave their CEO a 39% raise to $20.4 million. And if you dig into that New York Times article that Dan Price there is linking to, I mean, that's exactly what they say. They say the identical thing. For the last 3 months of last year, the company's profit soared 31% to $816 million. Revenue grew to $8.1 billion. That's a 19% jump compared with the same quarter a year ago. And also, by the way, this isn't the first time that they raised prices. They also raised prices back in October. So it just shows you, it doesn't fit together that, oh, we're under such pricing pressure, we have to raise price, we're really sorry, but what can we do? And also, oh, by the way, we're raking in record profits. So at least some portion of the price increase is just because they can. They raised prices in October 2021. And by the way, again, they cop to this. They admit to this. They say it openly.
All on their earnings calls.
They raised prices in October 2021. They found that it didn't affect demand.
Right.
Their customers were still showing up. Demand for expensive, not that great coffee was still very, very high. And so they thought, hey, we got away with it once. We were able to lift prices and get a record-breaking profit margin. We're going to do it again. And this, as we've been trying to demonstrate to you, and Matt Stoller had a great piece on it, this is a crucial piece of the story. It's not the whole story. It's a crucial piece of the story of why prices are going up in key sectors across the economy. The Prospect actually has a fantastic series. Let's go ahead and put this next tear sheet up on the screen. Fantastic series about what is really going on with inflation and proposing some novel solutions. I mean, they won't be novel to you guys, but novel to the DC establishment about how to fight inflation other than just trying to destroy the lives of the working class so they have no money to spend. And antitrust is a big part of that fight. Why? Because when you have monopoly pricing power, it means that you can use an excuse, something like inflation, to lift your prices and to price gouge. And that is, in fact, what we have seen in sector after sector, especially when it comes to food, especially when it comes to gas, when it comes to housing, when it comes to a lot of things that really hit the bottom line. The last thing that I want to point out that I think is really interesting is, you know how Biden did that sort of tepid calling out of the meatpacking industry, which is one of the worst offenders in terms of massive consolidation, huge price spikes. They're the only ones that are benefiting. Consumers are paying very high prices. None of that is getting passed down to the ranchers who are actually raising the cattle that go into the system. Well, the mere threat, according to the Prospect, the mere threat of antitrust investigation actually curbed price spikes in beef. Beef prices rose every month from December 2020 until December 2021, when they suddenly dropped by 2.3%, right as President Biden was putting on the heat, and a similar phenomenon occurred back under President Kennedy, when he used the bully pulpit to admonish steel companies in April 1962. The price hikes were rescinded within days. So what have we been saying for a long time? If Biden would just get out there and
say something.
Just say some stuff and call these people out and have a credible threat that, hey, we're going to do an antitrust investigation. We're going to look at breaking you all up if you don't get these prices under control and stop price gouging people. It actually, even the little tepid thing that he did, actually had a real impact here. So it's so important to understand what the full picture of why prices are going up really is.
This is the power of the American presidency, Krystal. People really do not understand just how powerful the bully pulpit is. You know, this story broke this morning, so I wanted to make sure I could highlight it for everybody, that Shell's profits have actually gone up to historic proportions.
Wow.
Even though they claim that the price of oil and natural gas is at an all-time high. So once again, the price is high for you, your balance sheet screwed. Shell balance sheet high. Also, Krystal, where do you think that they're going to be investing their hundreds of millions of dollars in extra profit that they made this year? Is it going to be in new drilling? Is it going to be in expanding infrastructure? Is it going to be in anything profitable for the rest of the country or for themselves? No. All of it is going to buying back their own shares in order to increase the price of their freaking stock dividend. Now, once again, that's within their rights, but here's the problem.
It should not be.
Here's the problem with the American economy. You pay more. They claim that they're transferring the price to you. Their profit goes up. They buy back their own stock. Then they use that in order to juice the dividend for their stockholders, increasing the overall price of which they borrow assets against, of which they don't have to pay any taxes, and everybody gets rich except for you. That's how it's all rigged. And this is why it drives me crazy. Same with the stock example, which is, okay, let's say they have the profit. Fine. Then at least you have to use it in order to make the price of oil go down in the future. Do you know the amount of subsidies that these people get?
No.
It's unbelievable.
It's
in the tax code, in Texas, drilling rights, tax benefits, write-offs, depreciation.
Not to mention they bought the entire judiciary system, apparently.
Everything, right? Like all stacked forward. And they still use it in order to buy back their own stock and increase the dividend price while everybody else gets screwed. The price of oil and gas continues to go up, their profits continue to go up, and nobody is investing in making sure that any of it goes down. Sound familiar? Same thing whenever it comes to Starbucks. And the reason I'm focusing on the gas story is because what? That's 50% of all inflation. That is the #1 increase for average Americans. Man, the Costco gas lines these days are very long. And I get it. This is why, because it's a huge line item increase for a vast majority of families. And how many people know this? Why is the president not decrying this every day?
You know what?
I'm just a freaking guy on YouTube.
Actually, a lot of people know it. I mean, we saw that poll that a majority of Americans understand that corporate greed is a big part of inflation. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those examples where, you know, the Democrats, the one thing they're great at is coming up with excuses for why they can't do anything. Oh, Joe Manchin, oh, Kirsten Sinema, oh, the Republicans, oh, the parliamentarians, oh, it's just really hard. This is something that you have a lot of control over. I mean, first of all, just the executive branch in terms of antitrust enforcement, you have a lot of levers you can pull there. But just in terms of the bully pulpit, we've seen now, it seems like it works somewhat with beef prices. Do that more. I mean, that's like 100% in your control. All they did is like put out one little press release and did like one little press conference, and that was it. It stopped the rise every single month for a year. Beef prices had been rising, and then suddenly they do that and it drops 2.3%. And just so you know that we're not cherry picking here, a couple of, oh, it's just Shell or it's just Starbucks. Food and Water Watch put together a bunch of statistics about some of the key sort of monopoly powers in different sectors, especially with regards to food and gas. They crunched the numbers on the oil companies and found exactly what you're laying out there. Their profit margins are through the roof, and yet they're telling you, oh, we have to charge you this much for gasoline. You look at Purdue, in terms of food prices, meat prices, their profits are up 12.7%. You look at Cargill, 17.3%. Within the grocery industry, Walmart is up about 7%. Kroger is up 8%. Costco is up 9%. So this idea that, oh, they're just under so much pressure that they have to pass on higher prices to you is largely just bullshit, especially when it comes to these large monopoly players who have so much control, almost an iron-fisted control over these markets. They're just lying, and they're telling their investors the truth, which is that we've found we can raise prices and get away with it, so that's what we're going to keep doing.
Let me point to another one. UPS yesterday posted a $3.1 billion fourth quarter profit, surpassing analyst expectations, and they're going to be increasing their dividend by 50%.
So gross.
This is a supply chain company. Right? They're deliver our stuff. They're always sending us an email. Oh, you're going to be delayed because of supply chain. $3.1 billion they're putting in the bank. And what? These UPS drivers, you know, the unionized one's doing okay, but we're hearing some rumblings about what might happen in 2023. I would tell you guys to go ahead and take note of that. Same Exxon. Just once again, so you know I'm not cherry picking. Exxon is also up, you know, going to be increasing. Their share price is up 6% on the news. And they're also going to be resuming a $10 billion stock buyback over the next 2 years, Krystal. Krystal. Are you guys sensing a theme here? Price goes up for you. They use that in order to jack up the price. And it's not all of it. There's definitely supply chain concerns, like don't get us wrong. But what's going on behind the scenes is making sure that only they and the richest people in the country continue to get richer while they actually do it directly at your expense.
Yeah,
in this case. That's
right.
The most disgusting part.
The other reason the stock buyback thing is really important is because, I mean, part of what we saw leading into the pandemic is all of these big companies got a huge tax break under Trump. They were flush with cash and they used it rather than investment or saving it or any, making sure that they weren't in a fragile position. A lot of them used it for stock buybacks. And then when the pandemic hit, you had a lot of industries that were in very vulnerable positions. The airlines are a perfect example of that, where then, they're these too big to fail companies. They've got their lobbyist position to get their custom written bailouts. And I supported the airline bailout to make sure that the workers stay employed. But part of the story is that when they irresponsibly use this money just to juice their own wallets and the wallets of their investors, that puts them in a precarious position for if there is a market downturn, which, a lot of analysts say that we may well have. So that's the other piece of the story.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.